Hey everyone, it's Joe Clifford, Executive Director at Lebanon Opera House. Thank you so much for tuning in to tonight's free LOH on location event. I'd like to thank our series sponsors, Kevin and Poonam Keller, and our season sponsors, Mascoma Bank. With their support, we're able to keep this series free and open to the public. Tonight's event is coming to you live and is produced exclusively for LOH. Throughout the evening, make use of the chat function where you can ask questions, share your virtual applause, and meet other fans. Tonight's guest is coming to us live from Boston. Please welcome Eugene Friesen.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, my name is Eugene. I'm really delighted to have the chance to introduce you to my music and to share some new sounds with you. Big thanks to the Lebanon Opera House, Director Joe Clifford, for giving me the invitation. And tonight, I'm playing from the Berklee College of Music, where I'm a faculty member, and we're doing a special program this week. And I'm sure you'll appreciate the heroic measures I've taken to try to make this classroom into a suitable performance space. I mean, you see this, I found a plant. It's actually not a plant, but it's something that resembles the plant. So it's not easy making a sterile environment like this into an inspiring place. But here we are. And thank you for tuning in these odd times. And hooray for the Lebanon Opera House. I mean, I have had the pleasure of being on stage there and also attended concerts there before. And I'm so looking forward to having the opportunity to once again gather with large groups of people as we just share this amazing experience in the arts together. And the very special connection that we feel with each other when we're sharing that audience. So that was a little improvised introduction to my composition called Shadow Play. It's a piece that features some of the unusual plucking techniques that I've enjoyed coming up with over the decades and inspired by a couple of different African folk instruments. And next, I'd like to play a piece that has been an important piece for me to kind of express something that happened to me some time ago. One night I fell asleep with the radio on in my room, and I woke up in the middle of the night because there was a sound in the room I'd never heard before. It wasn't a human voice, but it was a voice of some kind. And I listened to a while to this strange singing, and until the end when the announcer came on to say that that was the song of a humpback whale. And I'd never heard such a strange and such a beautiful kind of music. And some of the sounds reminded me of the beautiful sounds that a cello can make. So of course I was curious to meet one of these creatures in person, and I did have a chance. I went with my longtime collaborator, friend, band leader, Paul Winter, down to the Bay of Magdalena in Baja, California, where the gray whales come to give birth to their baby whale calves in the month of February. And we were told there were at least a dozen mother whales in this beautiful bay. And we went out in a little rowboat. And before too long, we saw a whale way off in the distance come up out of the water. And with a great spray, she released all the old air in her lungs, took in fresh air, and disappeared under the water. And even from a distance, we could tell she was huge. And I'll never forget what Paul said. He said, "Whoa." Said, you know, an animal that big could blast this little rowboat to smithereens. You do realize that, don't you? So we were kind of thinking that over, wondering where that or some other whale would come up next, when we were totally stunned when a mother whale came up right next to our boat. Came up so close, I literally could have reached out and touched her with my hand. But the way that she came up out of the water so slowly, so gently, it just seemed like the most natural thing in the world. And we didn't feel threatened or fearful at all. It was just an amazing experience seeing that kind of basketball of a bowling of an eyeball right next to our little rowboat. I never forgot that experience. And after that, I always wanted to create something in music that would help me relive that kind of amazing moment of awe, being face to face with a gray whale in this case. So this is a piece that uses the pre-recorded sound of a humpback whale. And I've changed the sound of the cello a little bit to give it a bit of an underwater sound. This is called Humpback Harmony. Humpback harmony. A lot of the music that I play and the music that I compose leaves some open windows for improvisation. So it makes every performance a little bit different. And in that way, you know, special performances are memorable because of the kind of quality of listening in an audience, the alignment of the stars, you know, whatever's happening in the news cycle that day. All those things affect how a musician responds to different musical environments. And for the last year and a half, you know, being mostly at home and not being able to play with other musicians at all, I've developed this program that you're hearing tonight. And I should have mentioned earlier, I'm using some electronics down here, foot operated electronics, a looper basically. It's something that makes live recordings of my performance and then continues to play it back while I add more layers of sound and music on top of it. And this has been what I call the Royal Chilharmonic. I mean, this has been just such a period of chill, just staying out of airports and staying away from the college, and you know, no logistics, no making hotel reservations and taking buses and taxis and all that stuff that is so common in a traveling musician's life. It has been just the chill of a lifetime to be able to spend time at home. And but music will be made, of course, and I spend a lot of time alone working with my looper and coming up with various things. And improvisation is the way that a lot of us can kind of take a reading on what's going on. It's kind of a way of getting the news internally in a way when you improvise and you're never exactly sure what's going to happen when you begin playing. But there is a certain amount of information in that playing that is not only really a restorative process to kind of put yourself in the hands of music in this way, but also is a way to reflect, currents of different emotional and psychological states that one might be going through. I love this. It's relatively new in our tradition, and it's highly influenced by the music of kind of Afrological music of Africa, music of Black musicians through jazz. This is the music that has really permeated our culture and our world so completely that you cannot go an hour without hearing something that is born from this kind of global and stream of African influenced music or by Black musicians. And of course, the influence of that does not stop at the doors of the conservatory. Classical musicians such as myself have been hugely influenced by music that we love on the radio, music that really reflects the contemporary times in a unique way and that we associate with different parts of our life. And more musicians who, like me, are classically trained are interested in finding a way to really give voice to their own experience through their instruments, through making their own music, through improvising. And I might say that one of the things I really encourage my students to work on is to learn the blues. I think the blues is something that's common to the entire world at this point. I've had experiences in countries where I could not speak the language of musicians I was collaborating with, but if I played the first few bars of a blues, I would see their face light up, and right away we have a common point of reference. So I'd like to play a piece that is a blues, but it's a kind of progressive blues and kind of a personal blues, I guess you'd say. I've worked with some great drummers. Jamie Haddad, Glenn Velez, and others are my lifelong companions, and I've learned so much practicing next to these amazing rhythmic beings. And this particular blues uses various layers of rhythms that are all based on the number 7. So it's an unusual sounding blues. I think it grooves like crazy. I love playing it. And this is the first time I've tried playing it for other people. So it doesn't even have a title yet. It's just like a blues with a hint of 7-ness. Here it is. That's a piece that I call Emmy, after a friend we lost last year. Next, I'd like to play something I've had great fun improvising on for a long, long time. It was something that was originally something that Paul Winter introduced me to, a simple folk tune by Bartok, which we play with our group, the Paul Winter Consort, as an ensemble piece, but with this extended cello cadenza, where I kind of get to explore some very unusual effects on the cello. As you may know, the music, the folk music of Eastern Europe, especially Hungary and Romania, has just an unusually earthy quality. It's played with just incredible passion, and it's very angular and unpredictable music. And the great composer Bartok, being a son of Hungary and Romania, made some amazing art pieces out of the energy and actual folk materials and melodic materials of this amazing music. So this is a piece that has kind of come into focus through just years of improvising on it. And I call it The Dances of Rasputin. Oh, before I play this, I want to invite you to, to send some comments or questions, anything you'd like in the chat, because after this piece, I'd love to take a few minutes and respond to anything that you might be curious about, anything you'd like to talk about, ask me about. I'm happy to do that. So again, we'll take a pause to kind of interact a bit after the dances of Rasputin. One of my favorite comments after a concert, somebody came up to me and said, your cello, is it okay? But yeah, I promise you, no cellos were harmed in the production of this music. Well, maybe a little bit. So let's see. So Joel, I don't see any comments here. And I'm going to assume that that is because our audience is in a state of absolute bliss and stupefaction. And that's just fine. And I want to invite you to support the Lebanon Opera House. This is an amazing community resource for us all as performers and as audience members. There is so much that our children derive from being exposed to some of the world's greatest art. And that's what you will find at the Lebanon Opera House. And I want to take this moment to, again, thank our sponsors, Poonam and Kevin Keller, for providing the resources to keep this free streaming service alive in this time. Amazing. And also, I want to mention, the technical wizard behind this stream, Joel Jaguar. Thank you so much, Joel, for keeping this together. Nobody's complaining. This is good. And I think that if there is no further conversation, maybe I'll play one more piece and bid you farewell. I invite you also to visit my website, celloman.com. And it's been a pleasure sharing some of these sounds with you. And here's one last piece, and also a special piece for me. I always remember that. Oh, well, there's a question. I'm happy to address that because this is a question that says, tell us about your cello, the luthier, and how long you've had it. And I'm very happy with that question because I love mentioning the fact that as a resident of Vermont, that both my cello and my bow are made by makers in Vermont. So my cello was made by Douglas Cox in Brattleboro, Vermont, who at the time when I first met him also served as our co-op treasurer and is a longtime supporter of music in Brattleboro. But that's a cello that was built in 1987, and I've had it since it was just a baby. I've had it since the early 90s. And I love Doug's cello because it has the trademarks of a great modern instrument. It has a very responsive sound. And I feel like I can hear that I can play very convincing bass lines with it. It's got just fantastic punch down in the low register, but it also has this sweet kind of singing quality as I go up the fingerboard on the higher notes too. So it does well what I think the cello generally does well, and it served multiple roles in a musical setting. As cellists, we spend a lot of time accompanying people. And in the repertoire we play, the cello, I would say 75% or more of the time is really playing a supportive role to the music. And so we get good at that and we love it. But it's wonderful also to bring the cello into the center of the light, center stage, and stand in the light and really play the heart song on the cello, and even play some of the rhythmic stuff inside the kind of pulse of the music too. So Doug's cello, a modern cello, has been fantastic for that. My bow is made by David Sullivan, also in Brattleboro. Fantastic bow maker, craftsman, neighbor, and I'm very proud to be playing using gear from my home state of Vermont. So for this last piece, I've loved listening to field recordings from different parts of Africa ever since I was a music student. There's something earthy, beautiful, authentic, and just tremendously grooving about this music. I remember one recording where it was just two young girls singing this kind of game song together, and they had such wonderful rhythm and great interaction between the parts. And then I've come to learn that, hundreds of thousands of years ago, the early humans in wild Africa heard this amazing symphony of sounds. I mean, the sound in the world at that time was so much more full of the natural sounds than it is today. But as our early forebears hunted and fished and lived, they were listening to these sounds, imitating the sounds, and also imitating the motions of some of these extraordinary animals and birds that they observed. And really, from these observations have come much rituals, and you can directly trace the progress, the evolution of music to how animals interact sonically in the wild. It's fascinating. Our concepts of counterpoint, of harmony, of orchestration, really all come from the intuitive interplay of animals in the wild. And this is a piece that kind of honors that. Again, I'm playing lots of rhythmic games inside this piece. It happens to be in 3/4 time, which is one of the musician's great pleasures, to play in 3/4 time. You think of a waltz, but then think of 4/16 notes on each beat. I can just hear my sweetheart Liz cringing as I'm telling you this, by the way, because she's going to say, don't get nerdy in front of, but I can't help it, because with 12 little musical impulses in a given measure, there's so much room for subdividing those and accenting those. So it's just great fun to bring in subdivisions and cross accents into this time signature that it borrows heavily from the brilliance of West African drumming and folk music of Zimbabwe, Ghana, and other places. So this is a piece that I will bid you farewell with. I just call this My Africa. And again, thank you so much for tuning in, for supporting the Lebanon Opera House. And I hope to see you under different circumstances when you can experience this cello live in a room at some point. So it's a pleasure playing for you. And this, again, is My Africa.